Okay, like,
Okay, so we're live. Hello, everyone, and good evening. If you're in Nigeria, West Africa, good morning wherever you are, good afternoon wherever you are, joining us on this session today. Welcome to the winning series, the winning strategy series for 2025, where we talk about different areas of your life that we can give you practical tips to help you succeed. We've talked about emotional intelligence, we've talked about winning in business, we've talked about winning even in personal growth and development. And today we're having a very, very important conversation. Now, why I say this conversation is very important is because I, for one, have had my own fair share of the experience of being a career mom. And there were things that I wish I knew. And I feel that in this session, we're going to be able to help a lot of people who um, are in that space as career moms. And I wouldn't want them to go through some of the things that I went through. So we have on this call today a very, very special guest. A very, very, if you know this woman sitting with me on this call, you will know I'm blessed. All right, so we have Mrs. Temitope Adedayo-Ojo, who has over 20 years experience, more than 20 years experience in the corporate world, and is currently a top HR executive in one of the multinationals. I don't want to call names. I wish I can, but I don't want to call names. And the interesting thing is she had moved from one multinational to another multinational to another. I mean, our experience had been around such a very robust work environment, and she has done really well for herself. In 2019, she did a postgraduate, a MBA, and she emerged as the best graduating student. And you're wondering, how did she do it? Best graduating student, amazing mother, and a very successful career woman, which is why we have on the call to come and tell us what magic she did. So please help me welcome Mrs. Temitope on the call. Welcome, ma.
thank you.
Thank you so much for granting for granting me this privilege to have access to you, and of course to also share your personal experience with people who would need to hear this. So, my very first question would be a very, very general question. So, I had this overwhelming feeling when I was dealing with being a first time mom and work. And I've met a lot of people who also feel the same way. They feel really overwhelmed. Did you have that feeling? Because going by your profile, you feel like a superwoman. Did you have that kind of feeling?
Well, I did. I still do. And I don't know if
Okay.
I don't know at what point the feeling goes off. But yeah, I
Okay.
still do, and that's even with the fact that I've got a teenager as
Yeah.
well. So I'm not
Wow.
sure if maybe it's different from, okay, yeah, maybe it's different from having like a toddler,
Okay.
because at least now they're able to kind of take care of themselves. But I think at every stage in life you would have different kind of challenges. So the kind of
Yeah.
things that maybe I would deal with right now having a teenager is probably different from a toddler, because now there are even some more important decisions you start to make in the life of the child at this stage. So it's and a toddler, you can easily just say maybe sit down there and you're running around chasing and all of that. But an adult, or a teenager,
A
you necessarily cannot
preteen
do
or
that. So
twin.
it's like I would say that yeah, so at every point in time one does feel overwhelmed. So I wouldn't say that you're alone. I would say it's completely a natural feeling, really.
Okay.
So,
So it's
and by the way,
it's
I'm sure that on this session I'm allowed to be practical, because I'm not going to come
very
here telling
practical.
you for you.
Very practical. In fact, that's the essence of this session. We want people to understand that, which is one of the things you've established, that they whatever they feel, whatever it is that they are feeling in terms of being overwhelmed, is not unique to them. It's everyone. Even the people that we see up there also felt the same way. So it means that if they can see people who have done well for themselves, and they are hearing these people say, I had also felt this way, it means that there's a chance for them to also do well for themselves. So this session is going to be as practical as possible. Now, given that you felt that overwhelming experience that a lot of, especially first time mothers have, was there a point you felt like you were losing yourself or you lost yourself? And how did you help yourself come out of it?
So I'd say that different stages. It depends on. So the kind of losing myself early on is different from kind of maybe losing myself now.
Now,
So
yeah.
it depends. It depends on the stage, really, because I know that initially when I got married, and I had my first child, I wanted to be a superhero mom. So
Okay.
no nannies, no, nobody at home, right? So I just wanted to be me. So do everything, do the cleaning, do the washing, do the childcare, do the this, the that.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I had to resume work 2.5 months after I had my first child. So I didn't
Wow.
even have the luxury of up to 3 months, right?
Mm.
So
Yes.
um and I was working full time. So the kind of pressure I had then and the feeling of losing myself was kind of different because here I was trying to get used to first of all being a wife.
Yes.
Then I then had another child to look
Yeah.
after. So I'm then dealing at the same time with being a mom around when I was dealing with a child, right?
Mm.
So it was being a wife. I was dealing
Your
with being a
wife,
wife,
yeah.
being a mom, and all that. And I recall that I used to break down a lot, as in back to back,
Oh.
like because I was constantly stressed. And you realize that when you're constantly stressed, you're cranky, you're feeling ill, and things like that.
Mm.
And I recall that at some point, even my husband had to say, "Look, you can't do this." So I get the bit of you want to do it by yourself, but you need support, you need help.
Mm.
So that feeling of losing myself then was a kind of different experience because it was more of a confused state of feeling lost, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
yes, so at some points I then had to open up myself to get help. So get help at home, get support, get different things like that. And again, these days, not all mothers are available. Like those days of they say they're coming to do Omugo and all of that. Everybody,
For
everybody is
6 months.
busy. So, and I remember that my mom would say, "Well, if you want me to help you, you have to bring your child to mine." And she was living very far away from me, right? And I
Same
felt,
as mine.
and I won't leave my husband's house to and go and stay with her. So it wasn't very practical. So she, for instance,
Yeah.
was not very available and all that. So
Mm.
even though we got an aunt, but even the aunt left at when my son was like a month and a half. So
Wow.
so it was a different kind of feeling of being lost then, and I had to get help.
Mm. Mm.
Right now, it's also a different kind of experience because right now I'm a lot busier than I used to be. So
Yes.
as at then, I was kind of just starting out my career, so maybe I wasn't as busy, and I thought that maybe when you get to the top, it then gets less busy and
A lot easier.
I start to chill. But
Mm.
geez, the chilling may not actually be true. So whenever people think that okay, let me get to the C-suite and I then start to
Mm.
chill, I would say that I've been busier in the last 3 years that I've been in the C-suite than I've ever
Wow.
been my entire career, which is almost 20 years, right? So
Wow.
and now it's a different kind of experience because I also then have kids. I'm super
Mm.
busy at work. Sometimes I feel
Mm.
like I don't even have time for myself, right?
Mm.
So it's and now I'm learning to even chill and just breathe because at some point it was all work, 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 and I realized that
Mm.
even family, I wasn't feeling like I was being
You're
very
giving them enough
available.
time. Mm.
I didn't feel like I was giving my own personal growth a lot of time as well. So it's been so I'll say at different times really you have that feeling of being lost because like you said, yes, I did do my MBA and I was the best graduating student at the time. And as at then I even had a 4 year old. I was running projects at work, right? So I
Mm.
had I had intense projects at work, and I was going
Yeah.
to school every weekend, Saturdays and
Wow.
Sundays. So Saturday was from 7 in the morning, either 7 or 8.
Mm.
No, I think it was 8. It was 8 to 6 on Saturdays,
Mm.
and it was 1 to 7 on Sundays, I think. So it was straight
Wow.
from church to school. On Saturdays, we were
Mm.
fully taken, and I had projects at work. I had kids at home, so
Yeah.
it's at every point in time there's a lot to juggle, really, as women. But I guess that's why
Yeah.
God gives us the grace and the strength, because the kind of
Yes.
strength, things we go through.
Mm.
Well, I really cannot tell where the strength comes from, apart from saying that God gives us grace to cope with all these things.
Yeah. Okay. So I would like you to share the key mindset shifts that you had that has helped you balance career and motherhood successfully. Like what were the things that you had as principles that had helped you over the years to balance being a mom and being a successful career woman?
I think it's the fact that I know that God helping me, none can fail, and maybe none is more important than the other. Well, maybe not exactly. So yes, my family would always be more important. But if I was going to do my ranking, my career and my family is very close to each other, right? So,
Okay.
so maybe one is just a few points higher, of
Mm.
course. So, so it's knowing that first of all, both of them cannot fail, and I
Yes.
need to excel at both.
Both. Yeah.
And I think that where I really got that mindset locked in was where I read an article about a woman that was
Okay.
really busy as a career person. So whether it was career or whether she was just an entrepreneur, but she was hardly ever available for her family. And
Yes.
but the husband was more available. And I recall then I think she was going to have like maybe it was a 60th party or 70th or something, and all the kids were abroad, and they all said they were not available. So none came,
Okay.
none.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
a couple of weeks later, the
Mm.
father passed. Either he passed or he also had his own birthday, but the father had a ceremony to do. And
Mm.
not only did the kids show up, their spouses showed up. They brought their kids.
Wow.
And for
Wow.
I know she was writing with regrets then, and one of the things I learned was having the right balance because yes,
Yes.
you work for two things majorly. One is your self fulfillment.
Mm.
The other bit,
Yeah.
obviously, is to take care of your family,
True.
right? But at the same time, you do not want to lose the family while you are trying to make them comfortable or while you're trying to work
Yes.
to be able to meet some of those needs. So,
Okay.
so that mindset for me was critical. So every time I realize that I'm losing maybe the time with family, I tend to take a step back and reflect,
Mm.
so that
Mm.
I then tell myself what's most important. Because
Yeah.
work would always be work. Work never finishes,
At all.
and so it's then important that you understand your priorities and you're able to know how to achieve the right. I don't know if there's, I know sometimes people say work life balance. I don't know if it's a
Yeah.
balance or I think it's more of a harmony, which for me, I think I find it easier to relate when people say work life harmony versus work life balance because I'm not sure at what point you
Mm.
really get that right level of
The
balance.
balance. Yeah.
I think it's like when you're having like a swing. At some point, one is on top. At some point, one is under. At
Yes.
some point, it's
Yes.
balanced. Then it goes. So things like that. So I have the up. Sometimes it's career. Sometimes it's family. Sometimes it's balanced. But it also
Yeah.
depends on what stage you are in your career and what stage you
True.
are in your family and all that. So maybe if I had just grandkids, of course I wouldn't. Maybe career or personal then just goes a lot higher. And all
Yes.
that. So it depends, really. I think yeah, at different stages all the time.
Okay. Okay, ma. So, can you please share with us how, for instance, you structure your day to day to ensure that you are productive both at work? So, this is like giving practical tips to mothers who are working to say, this is how you can structure your day in a way that allows you meet up with both responsibilities.
Um, so personal effectiveness, time management and personal effectiveness is key, right? And knowing the kind of person you are. If you're a morning person, you want to put more things that take your energy in the mornings. If you're an
Mm,
afternoon person, evening person, so for instance, I see some people super active at night. Maybe that's not the kind of person I am. So
yeah,
so it's important first of all to understand yourself and know that what works for like a Magdalene may not work for me. So if you see me
yes,
super active in the morning and you're trying to be me, but maybe your super active time is at night, then you want to maximize that time at night,
yeah,
right? So 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 you need to be more conscious of time management, more conscious of what are some of the things that. So, for instance, if I had like a toddler, I want to then do things like unpacking the bags and things like
yeah,
that the night before, just so that I
mm,
don't put myself under a lot of pressure in the
pressure,
morning and then get stressed, right? So and leave things that I have to do in the morning to things that I can only do in the morning. Maybe for instance the meals. Maybe some meals too, if you can even make them and just put them in portions, fine. Um
yes,
but so I've learned to so work when I'm at work and I'm at work fully. And I usually tell people that when I leave that gate, I leave and I try to leave
you've
work.
left.
Now, not that I achieve that all the time, but
Yes,
so one of the things that has helped me now, I'm not saying anybody else should do this because I don't
okay,
think my team, even my team at work, I know they find it and absurd and they're always asking, how do you do this? is the fact
Mm.
that I don't get work emails on my phone.
Mm.
Not because I know that, not because I don't know that I could lose things that are important, but because for me, I
Yes.
know I can be a workaholic and I can be a deep workaholic, right? So
Yes.
and
Yes.
I know that I cannot see work and
Mm.
pretend like
And
it's not there.
ignore it.
It's like you see
Yes.
work on a Saturday and my mind is already processing it. Even if I don't do the work over the weekend, my mind is already processing it all through the weekend, getting ready for a Monday.
Yes.
Or I may just even pick up my laptop and start to do the work. So what I've
Yeah.
learned to do is, because I know that that's the way I'm wired, I usually will tell my team if it's something, and even bosses that I've worked with, if it's something that is really important that you need to catch me on, whether it's on a weekend or at night, or even if it's when I'm on vacations, then
Mm.
reach me on my phone because they know that I likely will not see the mail. Anything
Yeah.
that you cannot reach me on my phone for, then maybe it's not important and you can actually wait until Monday. What
Go
that
back.
helps me to do is when I'm at home, I switch off work. I switch off over the weekend as well.
Mm.
If I need to work, now don't get me wrong, I work overnight, I work on
Yes.
weekends. But I would then go in intentionally and get on my laptop because I need to get the work done.
Mm.
Right. But that for me helps me to structure my time and helps me to balance things compared with when I realize I'm constantly working and I'm not even being present. Because again,
Yes.
now kids are very vocal. They will tell you when they think you're just absent or they are not here.
Yes.
Or I remember
Yes.
once at some point my son was saying, "What's even more important? Is it your work or is it me?" And I felt, okay, so why
Wow.
are you feeling like that? So maybe now I'm
Yes.
doing too much of work. I recall that I said in the last 3 years I've been busier than I've been in years, really. So
Yes.
so for me that helps me. But when I'm at work, now I can be at work and I work late nights.
Mm.
But I know that when I'm off, I'm off. Now that
Yeah.
works for me, it may not necessarily work for everybody else. Another thing that has helped me is to get support. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure there's an award for being stressed or constantly stressed.
Yes.
so, so sometimes it's important to then decide what's important to you. What can you afford to outsource? So can you
Mm.
outsource cleaning? Because again, I'm not sure if scrubbing the floor will add any value. Can you outsource cleaning? Can you outsource? Some little things. Now I know that at different
Yes.
stages in life, there's some things that you can afford later that you may not be able to afford earlier. So there's some
Yes.
things that I may be able to afford now that I couldn't afford when I started out my career when I was a new mom. But I've learned that no matter how little it is, if you want to get help, get help. It could be someone that comes
Mm.
to even if it's just cleaning every weekend versus having a live-in, that takes some
Yes.
pressure off you.
Mm.
Sometimes it can be maybe, in fact, these days, even as a career mom, I even discovered that people do market runs for you. So my own is you can go to
Yes.
my, you buy pepper for me. If I have someone that goes, she buys pepper in baskets, she will blend,
Mm.
she will boil.
Mm.
So what I just do is portion it in the freezer. And for me, once I have protein in the freezer and I have pepper and I have
Yeah.
things like
You're
that,
good to
I can
go.
easily correct. I
Yeah.
can mix meals and all that. So it's looking for things that can help you. I also cook in bulk and I put in the freezer. So even if I'm in the kitchen all through the weekend, I know that maybe I'm sorted for like next 2 or 3 weeks. One of the
Yes.
things that also surely does help is having a supportive spouse. You cannot
Yes.
be a successful career woman without having a supportive spouse. So your spouse needs to be
Mm.
understanding. Your
Mm.
spouse, because I've been on an international assignment before, and my spouse was with my child, and I
Yes.
was away for months.
Mm.
So you need to have a supportive spouse. You need to have someone that understands that it's just work, it's just a phase, but also
Yeah.
then know as a woman when you're overdoing it and when you need to take a step back and give to family because they also need you. So
Mm.
it's trying to balance those different things really. So it depends
Yeah.
on what works for you. But for me, I've learned that you need support. As in, see if you die today, you won't be even the child you're even trying to
You
tell
want
you
to move forward.
will move on. In
Yes.
fact, you tell a toddler it's even worse. Because when that child is a teenager,
Yes.
they won't even remember you. Right. So
Mm.
all these awards, so some mothers will say they've not slept, they've been
Yeah.
stressed, they've been this, they've been that. Nobody even gives you the award for it.
True.
To be honest.
True.
So whatever it is that you can outsource, wherever you can get help, even if it's at work. If it's at work and you have people that work with you, can you afford to delegate some things instead of wanting to do it all by yourself.
Everything,
Right? So,
yes.
so that way you're able to then have the balance at work, you're able to have the balance at home as well,
Mm,
right? But also know when you're drawing the line. So it can be maybe somebody helps you with the meal, but you do the serving. It can be
mm,
maybe, so for instance, an example is more money takes time. I love to cook. As in, I'm passionate about cooking, but I
yeah,
don't make my money because one, it's time consuming. Two, I can easily outsource it, right?
yeah.
So there's some meals I would make myself. There's some meals that I would outsource,
Mm-hmm.
right? I can do the cooking myself, but outsource the market runs. Now, it doesn't mean I don't do market runs. It just means that I'm not going to do it every day or do it every weekend. Like when I was
Mm,
schooling over the weekend, for instance, I could easily maybe from church get to the market, get to school, but then I would then come back and start to cook all over again. So that for that
mm,
period, for instance, I had to then tell myself, look, it's okay to get help. Where I can
yeah,
outsource even the cooking, or whereby I can get these days people do soup bowls and things like that. But that was just for the period more when I was in school. Right now, I
yeah.
may not necessarily do that like I did then. So it depends on what stage. But I would say that women need to be comfortable accepting
Seeking
help
help.
and support and stop being macho, right?
Mm. Thank you so much, Ma. I think I really like that we're having this conversation about people asking for help. I also was like you. I didn't like the idea of having help in my house. You know, all the stories you hear about elves and everything. And the truth is, you really cannot be careful enough. My husband would always say, if you're too careful because of your help, even the teachers you leave your children with, do you know them before? The answer is no. And building on what you've said, for a lot of people, like you rightly mentioned, they may think or feel like they don't have the capacity right now to afford getting a help. I would just add to say that help does not necessarily have to be people you pay. How well can you leverage on relationships, the people that you have around you? It's very, very good. Relationships are not just there for being there. I know how to use my relationships well. I don't use people, but I know how to use my relationships well. And if you have to use the people that you have good relationship with around you to make your work easy, please do get help. Which is what Mrs. Toko have said. Get help. It's very important. I mean, I had already gotten drenched in the old trying to be a macho woman before I realized how much help I needed. And by the time I got the help, I was already very exhausted. So please don't be like me. Get help and get help early enough.
Exhausted
All
and
right.
even age quicker, by the way.
Yes. Thank God we're not looking our part. All right. So we're trying to wrap up the session, but I have a couple more questions to ask. And
Yeah,
one
it's
of the
fine.
question, yes, so one of the questions I would ask is for career mothers who are really looking to grow professionally. Um, how would you how would you advise them? What are the things you think that they can do? Even that they don't have to pause their lives, yet they can still meet up with their career. And I'm going to say this. Sometimes the difference, I want you to share your own experience when you were not at the end of affair. Because when you're at the end of affair, you can cut short how you want your things to be. You can decide to say you want your emails to be out of your phone. But imagine a situation where I'm reporting to a boss who can pick up his phone anytime in the night and just want to call you and expect you to jump on that task. How do you advise such mothers to be able to manage being a mom, especially first time moms, while still trying to climb up the career ladder?
So again, so let me go to from let me pick up from where you stopped, which is the bit of so when you say that maybe I'm a bit more senior now and I can afford to do that, I would say that yes and no, because I've worked for about 20 years, and in the
Yes.
20 years I've never
Oh,
gotten
wow.
even when I was a graduate trainee, I was not getting work done. I was not catching emails.
Emails on your
Yes, I
phone.
might have a few bosses that maybe I've kind of mentioned it. But again, like I said, when I'm at work, I give my all
Mm,
to the best of my ability by God's
yeah.
grace. And I can give my all. I can be at work till 8. I will go the extra mile. So when I'm
Mm,
off, you know that I actually deserve it to be
deserve.
off, or
Mm,
because I'm working on other things. I mean, I've had my mom call a boss before to say she works too much, she works too hard. If it was your child, you probably know. I can't remember if she
wow.
actually told told you, or she was trying to get the number to call or something. I'm not even sure if I was married then. But my point is, when I say that I don't get work emails on my phone, this has been all through my career, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So, but again, I'm not necessarily saying it works for everybody because there's some people that are in urgent roles and they need to receive emails on the go. I'm just telling you what I used as a coping mechanism. It may not necessarily work for everybody. And yes, do I lose things that are important? Sometimes I do, to be honest. But I've also told
Okay.
myself, whatever it is that is that urgent, that is like life and death, you can reach me on the phone,
On the
and I
phone,
would
yeah.
and I would respond. So, for instance, I've worked today actually. So in the last maybe 2 to 3 hours, I've been exchanging work messages on
Okay.
WhatsApp with somebody on my team, and we've gotten some work done today. But I've just not gone into emails because
Yes.
even coming on into this session, and I just took a peep at my email. I already saw some things that I felt, oh, I could quickly do. Right. So, but like I said, it may not necessarily work for everybody. I'm saying this is what has worked for me. Some other people will have other things that work for them. For some people, not even getting emails on their phone is mental stress on its own because they cannot switch off, right?
Yes.
They also don't want to load things. But it's just me. Now, to your point of for women want that still want to grow in their careers, I would say
Yes.
that look, you will never have a perfect time. You will never have all the time in the world to do the things you want to do. So it's important that you have your priorities and you decide how you want to achieve them within the time that you have. So
Yeah.
when I ran my MBA, like I said, I was running projects at work. And that
Yes.
MBA was for 2 years. And I was going, and for me, because I'm a class person, I'm not just, let me just read and pass.
Virtual.
For me, the class, there's some people that just wired to sit in classrooms, which is why maybe I try not to do a lot of online things because that's not the kind of person I am.
Yes.
So I knew I had to go to school physically. It wasn't even like maybe I was just reading, passing, and things like that. Along the line, so I had professional exams that I was trying to do. I had different things
Yes.
that I was juggling, right? But I knew that it was stress that I was taking for a limited period. So I was ready to take the sacrifice,
Okay.
right? Yes, it may have taken a toll on my rest times and things like that, but that was just for a period. Now it's all done and dusted, is in the past.
Yes.
So it's knowing that you never have all the time in the world. Whatever it is that you want to do, it's important that you just make up your mind that you want to start. Just start. Sometimes I think it's even in the starting, and I'm guilty of it myself, right? So last year, on my goals for the year, I'd written some personal things that I wanted to do professionally, and I just gave an excuse from January to February to March to April to May. As much as possible, that year was kind of stressful. Like it deserved
Yes.
to rest, right? So, but this year, like this morning, I still thought about that. Geez, this is 2nd of March. This year
Yes.
again is going. You're not going to give yourself that exact. That's example of
Excuse.
last year was a stressful year generally, right? But that again, that's not, and that is me. And I've got quite a few professional certifications, right? So I'm also conscious to say that I don't want to get complacent.
Yes.
So I also want to keep ensuring that I'm growing myself. So for those that want to be, and you may have different people in different buckets. For some people, maybe they really do need to switch off career for a year, 2 years to be there fully for the children. So maybe if
Okay.
I had like a set of triplets, I'll not be talking the way I'm talking. So maybe I'll then decide to do like a break, maybe. But again,
Yes.
even while you're taking a career break, so let me just use it as a break to focus on family. You also want to be conscious that you're developing yourself during that career break. These days,
Exactly.
there are courses you can take at home, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because again, you're not going to be carrying children all day. You're not going to be doing their laundry all day. You're not, so
True.
things like that. What do you want to do with that spare time that you have?
True.
So it could be that maybe you take a break and you decide that that's when you want to either take some exams or do some courses. Just don't get
Yes.
rusty. You're not going to sleep and wake up with if you can afford it anyway. And even if you can't, pick up a book, read something. There are a lot of free resources online these days. There's YouTube, there's LinkedIn. Resources, in fact, I think there's Resource, there's knowledge overload. Now you even need to just
True.
decide, look, let me shut out some
Which of
things that you're
them?
not supposed to, right?
Yes.
So
Mm,
what? So if you need to take that career break, it's okay. Again, it's understanding that in life you have seasons and you have priorities.
true.
If you need to shut one down for the other for some time, maybe it's fine. And if you need to balance, it's also fine, right? So
Mm,
it depends. You can be successful if you just put your mind to it. Now there's a lot I still want to do that I've not been able to do, right?
mm.
My husband reminds me all the time to say, but you know you have goals, you have professional goals like that. And I'm saying that yes, I know. But sometimes I
Mm,
just feel like maybe the hours are not enough. So some of the things that I'm starting to do now, for instance,
mm,
is a day in a week or a few hours in a day, even if it's just once a week, maybe 2 hours. So I have it on my calendar now to say, and I have it blocked out as knowledge time.
mm.
Now, that knowledge time means I just study something, or I just learn something new, or I'm just reading something. Now, do I keep to it all the time? Maybe not, because sometimes you may have meetings or priorities that overlook that. But because it's in my calendar,
Yeah.
I kind of feel guilty when that time is ticking up and I've not done it.
Yes.
It just
Mm,
keeps it top of mind. Sometimes it
mm.
could be, and the amount of time we spend on social media as well is a lot.
It's
You
a
know,
lot.
I told myself, I think it was yesterday when I was saying that, oh, the year has been busy, and I felt, look, I watched quite a couple of movies this year, oh, but I've not finished the book. And on an average, every movie takes maybe
Yeah.
1 hour 30 minutes. Some movies
Exactly.
will take 2 hours. In fact, these days you
Mm-hmm.
see some movies that are even a series. And I'm wondering
Yes.
if I convert that time, if let's even put movies aside, even social media, you go on Instagram and you think you want to spend 5 minutes before you know you spend 1 hour. So,
Exactly.
so even having at the back of your mind that some of those times, if you're conscious enough, probably you can switch it and do
Mm,
something more productive. So even if it's a page of a book you can read in a
mm.
day, maybe that's fine. Because
True.
sometimes we want to do very big things, and because we're not starting the big things, we then don't do anything at all.
Yes.
Right. So whatever you can do in bite sizes, is it a chapter of a book you can read in 1 week? Read it and give yourself a pat on the back. Celebrate
Mm.
yourself. Right.
Yes.
If you keep doing that on a daily basis, because sometimes it's many times it's the consistency that we lack.
Consistency. Yes.
So if you are consistent, whether you like it or not, you are growing, right?
True.
So whether you're a full-time professional person or you're a career person or whatever it is that you're doing, have it at the back of your mind that you want to excel at it, and don't feel guilty about it,
Yes.
right? So if I switch off and I decide I want to focus on my kids, then that's a family decision. There's some decisions that I have taken because of my family. There's some jobs I've not taken, like,
Mm.
for instance, right from time I'd said I couldn't work on the island. So even when it appeared that I got juicy jobs on the island, I didn't want to because I was
Yeah.
conscious that I was more available than my husband was. He was busier, and
Mm.
I wanted to be able to do school runs myself because that time to
True.
school, that drive to school for me is also bonding time that I didn't want to lose, especially as I got very busy. So that time it
Mm.
could be 30 minutes, but it's 30 minutes for me was valuable enough not to want to take jobs that were more expensive or that were
True.
paying more
Pay more.
just
Yeah.
because I want to do the island traffic. Because if I'm doing the island traffic, I'll be out when the kids are sleeping. I likely will come back when they are asleep as well.
Yes.
Right? So there's
Yes.
some sacrifices you need to make, but see, do you, be you. Right? So don't necessarily feel guilty by what others have achieved or others are doing, but be sure that to yourself you are true and you know that you are giving your best self all the time.
Mm. Thank you so much, Ma. I'm going to ask one last question, although we've exceeded the time by a few minutes. But before I ask that question, I want to just share something that happened to me personally last week. We went to drop off my daughter in school, and unlike before, when we dropped her off that day, she waved at us and was saying goodbye. And my husband made a statement. He said, "This is the reason why nobody should pause their life for their children, because as much as you want to be there for your children, one day they will leave you. So if you have refused to add value to yourself, when they leave you, what will you be left with? What will you be left doing?" I just had to put that out there because as much as we want to be there for our children, we also want to ensure that our lives do not stop. So, one last question, Ma. What advice would you give to moms that feel stuck in their careers because of motherhood responsibility? What advice do you have for them?
You know, I was going to crack a joke and say, unstock yourself. I know it's not the right English, but that was a lighter note. I think
Yes.
it's finding out what exactly is making you feel stuck. So again, I know that different people go through different challenges, right? For some women, it may not even be that they don't want to be the best version of themselves or they don't want to work, but they may just have spouses that have refused to allow them work. And
Mm,
that's why, before you get married, there's some conversations that you want to have.
you should
So
have.
if the
True.
man, for instance, is saying that no, my wife cannot work, she has to be only sit at home and all of that and be full-time housewife. Again, some people thrive being full-time housewives.
Mm,
Some of us would rather not be. So their circumstances may differ, but
yeah.
even with being a full-time housewife, like I said, it's not only people that work in offices that are successful. There's some remote jobs that you can even do from inside your house while you're still with your kids. It's not
Mm,
all successful career people that go to work on a daily basis. And these
true.
days, the internet helps. You have people that are working at home and they're earning in pounds and dollars because they work for companies that are abroad, right? So
Yes.
even within your own circumstance, you can make the best out of that situation, right? And if you are stuck because maybe you feel that you're not having fun in your career or you don't feel fulfilled and all of that, then maybe have an exit plan.
Mm,
Maybe start to take professional courses in what you want to do. So you're building your knowledge base. What I do now, I do HR now. My first degree was not even in HR at all. It was in IT, right? It was
yes.
when I started, it was as I was started, as it was about when I got my job that I started to do HR related certifications because I knew I wasn't going to do IT. So
Mm,
yes, it may pay the bills for some time, but start to map your way out of that, right?
mm,
And if you're feeling stuck as well, thinking that I think another bit to really speak on is the guilt that women feel, and
true.
I know that because a lot of us feel that guilt. So know that you're not alone. I think every
Yes.
woman at every point in time is wondering, am I the best at work, and am I the best
Mm,
at and I know
that's
that
true.
so I once asked, so there's a very successful woman that I think
Mm,
in for IWD some years ago, and I asked her to say, how you're a chairman of this, you're a board of this, you're this, you're this, you're this, you're that. How don't you even feel guilty? Like, and
mm,
she said that, well, for her, she knows she gives her best self. And so when she's not there for a school event, for instance, she knows that because she's usually there, if she's not
mm,
there once, she tries to tell herself mentally that it's okay
yes.
because that is not our usual default self. Now, if you start to miss all the sessions, then it's an issue, right? But if,
Yes.
for instance, you have something really important and maybe you're not able to make, even if it's just one in a year, let go of the guilt or the
True.
bits around, no, I'm not doing enough. I think constantly women tend to self assess themselves and we
True.
are our critics, right? So
Yes.
there's that bit of always wanting to feel guilty of you're not doing enough at work or you're not doing enough at home, but you've just
Mm,
got one life. Sometimes
mm,
I tease my colleagues, I say, look, this head is one, these hands are two, right?
yeah.
So I can only be one person, right?
Mm,
So even when we say that we are multitasking. The truth is, when you say you're multitasking, at some point your brain is leaving one thing for you to focus on the other one. So it's like
definitely.
trying to type an email and I'm also talking to you on phone. It's the same brain that is processing the two. You realize that after a while, you're having to pause on that to be able to speak with someone and you're back to it. So it's not so maybe the multitasking thing also then puts us under a lot of pressure, under a lot of guilt. I would say
Mm,
do the best you can. Be the absolute
mm,
best that you can, whether it's at work or whether it's at home. And the
mm.
bits around maybe now feeling guilty, don't allow
Yeah.
social media to make you also feel more guilty or to put you under more
Yes.
pressure.
Pressure.
Because sometimes you see some people on social media and it looks like they are coping with everything and anything. And I've been guilty of that myself. Because I remember
Mm,
that there was someone I used to check, and she's either at the gym doing exercise, then she's posting her
mm,
kids later in the day, then she's posting work, then she's this, then she's that. And I'm wondering, am I even enough like this? As in, how are human beings coping? And but many years later, when I met someone close to her, and I realized that she doesn't have it all together. As in, at work,
True.
she has people that maybe she leads and they just hate to work with her. So all those ones that you see is just social media paparazzi. You also don't know if she's at home and she's home,
Yes.
or she's not home. You don't know how she
Mm,
runs because what you see on social media is what I put out there. Nobody puts their back foot forward, and nobody ever
true.
tells you how they failed, right?
Mm,
I've
mm,
also had instances where I think in the current job, I've had times where I just practically almost switched off family and I was doing all work. But sometime I then had to start to take a step back to say, I think I've done this too much. I think I've been
yes.
too absent. I think I
Mm,
want to now be more present for my family and even for myself because I'm also a human. I'm an entity in this whole everything
situation.
together because
Yeah.
everybody's talking about you as a mom, everybody's talking about you as a wife, everybody's talking about you as
Yes.
a career person. What about you? Because
Mm,
Magdalene is one person, right?
yes.
So
Yeah.
at some point you also want to either rest or do the things you love. So if you want to take yourself out for a movie, self movie, go on your own, go and watch your own
True.
movie. Be happy.
True.
Do things that make you happy. Find a way to distress because if you're constantly stressed, you are cranky to
Mm,
everybody around you and you're not necessarily even a pleasant person as well. So the way
yeah.
you distress may be different from the way I distress, right?
Yes.
Sundays for me are busy because you go from church in the morning, come back in the afternoon, and because maybe I knew I was going to be on a session with you, I then said, look, let me get an hour of rest. And getting an hour
Okay.
of rest, somebody was helping me to do other things, right? So
Yes.
again, you may not be able to do a lot of that if you have like toddlers running around the house and things like that. But even when you do, it could be that maybe you even just tell your husband, can you help me look after the child for 1 hour and let me rest? Because if you keep breaking down, you're not adding value to yourself, you're not adding value to people
True.
around you, you're not pleasant,
Yes. Yeah.
you're just cranky and you can't even tell why you're cranky. So
Yeah.
learn the right balance. Learn to release yourself when you need to. If you
Mm,
can afford to, maybe you could just go somewhere, clear your head, be happy, come back refreshed. It's like as it for women, it's like you're pouring out, pouring, and we're not careful enough
refilling.
to refill. Correct.
Yeah.
So unless that refill happens, it's like a bank account. You keep drawing out, and it goes into negative. After a while, there's
True.
nothing to do anymore, right?
Mm,
So it's important that we find a way to recharge ourselves. It's important that we find a way to distress. It's important that we get help, we get support, we also grow and feel fulfilled. And one thing everyone needs to keep asking is my 70-year-old self, what picture do I have? What
mm,
regret did I have then? Any regret I would have when I'm 70, I want to fix some of those things now, just so that I don't get to that 70-year-old self and be full of regrets. Right?
yes.
So it's
Thank
it's
you. Okay.
complete package, and just try as best as possible to ensure that you feel fulfilled in whatever it is that
Yeah.
you're doing.
True.
Right.
Thank you so much, Ma. This has been an amazing session. Very, very insightful. And I'm sure that there are a lot of moms who would come across this video at some point. And I'm hoping that you find it very helpful and it helps you to get past the stage. Oh, well, like our speaker said, you may not be able to get past the stage because it is from one stage to another stage. But what that means is you'll be able to get all the information that you need that can help you navigate the stage very easily and seamlessly. Once again, thank you so much, Ma. We really do appreciate this time. I mean, getting someone like you on the call is golden for me. So thank you so much for honoring my invitation and for pouring it all out to everyone who is watching. For everyone who also joined the live stream, thank you so much. For everyone who will come back later to watch the video, thank you so much. And in all of this, please do not forget to subscribe to this channel. And of course, let us know how much you found this video helpful. Like, share, comment. Let us know what you've learned from it. And even after implementing some of those things, you can come back and share how they have helped you turn things around in your life. So thank you everyone once again, and thank you so much, Mrs. Stockby. It's such a pleasure to have you on
Thank
the call.
you. It was
Thank you
great to
so
be
much, Ma.
here to
Thank
share.
you.
Thank
All right,
you.
everyone. Enjoy till the next session.
Bye.
Bye.
And be a fabulous mom.
Yes, very important. Be a fabulous mom. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.